The hum of machinery filled the air, a constant reminder of the high-stakes environment within the Nexon Systems warehouse. Fluorescent lights cast a sterile glow over the assembly floor, where a group of senior engineers and executives had gathered. At the center stood Jalen Stroud, a young black technician, his hands steady as he examined the malfunctioning machine. "It's a voltage incompatibility," Jalen said calmly, wiping his hands on a cloth. "European components operating on American voltage standards. A basic oversight." The room fell silent. The machine, previously defunct despite numerous attempts to repair it, now whirred to life, operating with an efficiency that surpassed its original specifications. Dr. Elise Hahn, one of the engineers present, exchanged glances with her colleagues, suspicion flickering in her eyes. Ronald Keene, the CEO of Nexon Systems, stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "Impressive," he said, though his tone lacked warmth. "Tell me, Jalen, where did you acquire such expertise?" Before Jalen could respond, the warehouse doors opened, and an older man in a tailored suit entered, carrying a leather briefcase. "Excuse the interruption," he said, his voice commanding attention. "I'm Victor Stroud, and I believe you've been testing my son." Gasps echoed through the room. Keene's face paled. "Victor Stroud? The engineer who designed this machine?" Victor nodded, opening his briefcase to reveal documents and a tablet. "Under a confidentiality agreement, I developed this machine for Nexon Systems. Here is the signed contract and a video recording of our meeting on March 14th, 2021. The video played, showing Keene shaking hands with Victor, discussing technical specifications. The evidence was irrefutable. Dr. Hahn stepped forward, her voice shaking. "You're the VS from the technical documents. I always wondered who the genius behind the design was." Victor offered a tight smile. "It's disheartening to see my work credited to others." Keene stammered, This can't be. We have our own documentation." Jalen pulled out his phone, displaying a live video. 50 people witnessed your treatment of me and your threats against my mother. It's all been streamed live on the company's social media." Keene's phone buzzed incessantly. He answered, his face turning ashen. "Yes, I can explain. No, it wasn't like that." Victor addressed the room. "My son repaired this machine in 15 minutes because he understands every component, every circuit. He knows my work better than anyone." Keene hung up, his hands trembling. "Perhaps we can come to an agreement. A promotion for your mother, a raise." Victor's gaze hardened. "The only thing we seek is justice. And from the public's reaction, it seems we're not alone." As murmurs spread among the employees, some already typing furiously on their phones, the atmosphere grew tense. The once powerful CEO now stood isolated, his authority unraveling. Outside, the world watched as the video continued to gain traction, the hashtags #RacistCEO and #NexonBoycott trending rapidly. Inside, the silence was deafening. The warehouse was silent, the hum of the machine the only sound. All eyes were on the elegant man who had just entered. He introduced himself as Victor Stroud, claiming to be the father of Jalen Stroud. The room was filled with confusion and disbelief. Victor stepped forward, his presence commanding. He held up a tablet, displaying a video recording. The footage showed a meeting from 3 years ago where Ronald Keene, the CEO of Nexon Systems, secretly hired Victor to design the very machine that Jalen had just repaired. The agreement was clear. Victor would remain anonymous, and Keene would take credit for the design. Gasps echoed through the warehouse as the truth sank in. Keene's face turned pale, his mouth opening and closing as he struggled to find words. Jalen stepped beside his father, holding up his phone. A live video was streaming, capturing the entire confrontation. The title read, "CEO Exposed for Racism and Theft." Keene's phone buzzed incessantly. He glanced at the screen, his eyes widening in horror. The board of directors had seen the video. His career was unraveling before his eyes. Victor turned to the crowd. "This is not just about me or my son," he said. "It's about the systemic issues that plague our industry. It's time for change." The warehouse erupted in applause, the employees rallying behind Victor and Jalen. Keene, defeated, slunk away, his empire crumbling. In the days that followed, Nexon Systems underwent a transformation. Keene was removed from his position, and Victor was offered a role to lead a new initiative focused on diversity and inclusion. Jalen was granted a full scholarship to Stanford, his talents finally recognized. But the story didn't end there. As Victor settled into his new role, he received an anonymous message. "This is bigger than you think. Be careful." Victor stared at the message, a sense of unease settling over him. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video. The silence that followed was not peace. It was the quiet before an explosion. Victor Stroud stood in the center of the factory floor, the recording still playing on his tablet. Ronald Keane's face flickered on the screen, clear as day, laughing while finalizing the confidential deal 3 years ago. Jalen looked up at his father. The plan they'd orchestrated had worked, but what followed was bigger than either of them had anticipated. The senior engineers stood frozen. Some avoided eye contact. Others stared wide-eyed at the proof that shattered everything they thought they knew. Dr. Eliasson lowered her clipboard, visibly shaken. He said you were a fraud, she whispered. That all of this was built in-house. Victor turned to her, his expression calm but ironclad. He lied. He stole. And he used my son to cover it all. A loud buzz came from Jalen's phone. Then another. And another. Notifications from every major outlet. Headlines poured in like a digital tidal wave. Tech giant Nexon Systems caught in racial cover-up. CEO exposed for intellectual theft and discrimination. The Stroud Files, father and son unravel billion-dollar fraud. Live footage of the confrontation was now trending. Over 1 million views in under 10 minutes. The internet was already eating Keane alive. Suddenly, security burst into the room. 2 suited board members trailed behind, Agnes Renner and Matthew Cole, known across the industry for their razor-sharp decisions and zero tolerance for scandal. Keane tried to straighten up, still clinging to the last threads of his authority. Agnes. Matt. You can't just. Ronald. Agnes cut in coldly. Step away from the control panel. Now. You don't understand. Oh, we understand, Cole said, holding up his own tablet. You lied to the board, violated federal law, and attempted to fire the family of the man who designed our most profitable system. What we don't understand is how you thought we wouldn't find out. Keane's mouth opened, then closed. He had no words. Just shame. But Jalen wasn't done. Not yet. He stepped forward, voice steady but loud enough to silence the room. This wasn't just about one machine. It wasn't even just about me. This company built its reputation off the back of a lie, and punished anyone who didn't look like they belonged in your private club. You humiliated me, threatened my mother, and you gambled with my father's life's work. The silence hit hard. No one moved. No one breathed. I recorded everything, Jalen said, holding up his phone. The taunts, the threats, the illegal non-disclosures. And now the world knows. Keane turned to Victor. Please, there's still a way to make this right. Victor took a step closer. His eyes were calm, but there was no mercy in them. You don't get to make anything right, he said. You made your choice. You tried to bury my legacy in shame. You tried to erase my son. And now, it's your name that's gone. The board moved swiftly. Keane was escorted out of the building within the hour. Cameras caught every second. But the fallout was just beginning. Within 24 hours, Nexon Systems stock plummeted. Every media outlet ran specials. The expose became national news. Civil rights groups launched campaigns. Former employees came forward with similar stories. Patterns emerged. The rot ran deep. Victor received calls from lawyers, publishers, even documentary filmmakers. They all wanted to tell his story. Jalen, meanwhile, received a message from Linda Paxton, the interim CEO appointed after Keane's immediate dismissal. We owe you more than an apology, she wrote. We owe your family a future. The offer was staggering. A senior engineering position for Jalen. A full ride to Stanford. Compensation for Victor's stolen work. Plus royalties on every derivative system built from his blueprints. And one more thing, Nexon wanted to create something permanent. Something transformative. They called it the Stroud Institute for Innovation and Equity, a facility dedicated to nurturing young engineers from underserved and rural communities. Fully funded, fully staffed, named after the man they once tried to erase. Victor hesitated. They used our name to build lies, he said. Now they want to use it for redemption. Jalen looked at him. Then let's make sure it stands for the truth this time. 1 week later, Eliasson arrived at the Stroud family farm, no longer just a humble plot of land, but the birthplace of a movement. She carried a thick folder under her arm. I'm not here as an engineer, she said. I'm here as someone who saw it and stayed silent. And I'm sorry for that, but I want to help now." Victor nodded. "Then help us build something that can't be stolen." Inside the folder were detailed plans for the Institute. It wasn't just a facility. It was a mission, a future. Jalen looked through the documents: labs, mentorship networks, scholarships, nationwide recruiting. He looked up. "We're going to change everything." 6 months later, a new name glowed on the side of a sleek tech campus in California: the Stroud Institute. Inside, dozens of students, young, brilliant, diverse, worked with cutting-edge tools Victor once dreamed of. Jalen, now both student and mentor, stood before them. He tapped a screen. A diagram of the original machine appeared. "See this," he said. "This system was designed in silence, hidden by power, buried by prejudice. But here's the thing." He looked around. They didn't bury a design. They buried a legacy. But legacies don't die. They rise. The media called it the Stroud Uprising. A documentary dropped on every major streaming service. Blueprints of Betrayal chronicled the fall of Ronald Keene and the rise of the Stroud family. In just 2 weeks, the film amassed 15 million views. Educators used it in classrooms. Activists cited it in lectures. But for Victor, it wasn't about headlines. It was about peace. He sat on the farmhouse porch, watching as Jalen packed for Stanford. Diane brought out 2 mugs of coffee. Her smile had returned. "You ready?" she asked her son. Jalen looked out at the horizon. "I've never been more ready." And Ronald Keene? He lived alone now in a rental apartment outside Houston. His phone never rang. His emails went unanswered. No company would take the risk. His face was still on search engines next to words like racist, fraud, intellectual theft. He tried to start a consulting firm. It failed. Tried to launch a podcast. No one listened. He watched the documentary in full once. Just once. He threw his glass across the room afterward. No one came to pick up the pieces. On a cool autumn afternoon, the first group of Stroud Institute graduates walked the stage. Their gowns were stitched with the Institute's crest, a lightning bolt and a circuit board, merging tradition and innovation. Jalen gave the keynote. Every system is built on assumptions, about how things work, about who belongs. But assumptions can be broken. Systems can be rebuilt. And every time someone tells you to stay in your place, build your own. The crowd stood, applauding. Victor wiped a tear from his eye. And far beyond the applause, beyond the headlines, something irreversible had been set in motion. This was no longer just a story of revenge. It was a blueprint for the future. And the world was watching.